This is Turbosmart's brand new intercooler for the 2013 and up Ford F-150 Ecoboost. We also have in pairing with this their blow-off valve, quicker heat dissipation, cooler intake air temps, and ultimately more horsepower. What's going on, Team Lethal fans? It's Joe here with Lethal Performance. Today, we've got an all-new product here from our friends over at Turbosmart that we're going to be showing you guys here today for the F-150 Ecoboost truck. Now, if you can't already tell by the size of the box, this is going to be their all-new performance intercoolers that they just dropped here for all Ecoboost F-150s. We're talking everything from a 2.7 liter to a 3.5 to a base model truck to a Raptor. This will fit all Ecoboost F-150s from 2013 to the current years. Now, with performance in the title, of course, this intercooler is going to be a big upgrade over that OEM intercooler that's currently in your Ecoboost F-150. So let's go ahead and crack the box open here and show you guys what we're working with. Now that we've got everything out here on the table, you can clearly see what we're going to be working with here. Like I mentioned, we've got their new performance intercooler here for the F-150s, and we have their blow-off valve here that is a direct replacement for the OEM recirculating valve. Now, both of these components together are going to install just like an OEM component would. But let's go ahead and dive deeper into these parts here to tell you why they are going to perform way better than those OEM pieces that are currently on the truck. Now, kicking things off with their intercooler here, it has 80% more cooling surface than the OEM intercooler, which of course is going to lead to quicker heat dissipation, cooler intake air temps, and ultimately more horsepower. It features a bar and plate charge cooler designed with CFD modeled end tanks for the highest efficiency and airflow. The entire unit is made from high quality aluminum that has been TIG welded together and given this super clean silver finish here that is ultimately going to help keep the corrosion out of this unit and is also going to keep it nice and shiny underneath your truck. Speaking of finishes, these are available in two separate finishes, whether you want a silver finish as shown here, or you're looking for a black finish to help maybe blend in a little bit better with some of the components underneath the truck. This intercooler is essentially designed to be a bolt-on plug-and-play install, meaning that it is going to work with the stock mounting points, the stock charge pipes, the stock shutter shrouds, and most importantly, the stock calibration, meaning you're going to have no check engine lights once this is installed, and of course, no reliability issues, or at least no reliability changes when you install this intercooler. Now, one last feature that I can't say I've ever seen on an intercooler, but I do think is a really slick thing to have, is going to be this little maintenance drain here that's on the bottom corner of the intercooler. Now, basically what that's going to allow you to do with this intercooler installed on the truck is it's going to allow you to drain any of the blow-by or condensation that gets in the induction system. Now, obviously, if you guys already have a catch can like we do on the truck that we're going to be installing this on, that is going to obviously catch the majority of the blow-by or the majority of the condensation that's going to be running through the induction system, or that's going to be possibly getting into the induction system. However, if any does tend to blow by, or you don't have a catch can on your truck, that is a really cool feature there that you may get a lot of use out of depending on how many miles are on your truck and how loose your motor is, especially on some of those older trucks that have seen a few miles and seen a bit of abuse. I'm sure you guys have a little bit of blow-by that maybe the catch can isn't catching 100% of, so that valve's going to come in really handy for, I'm sure, a lot of you guys out there. Now, along with their new performance intercooler, we're also going to be installing Turbosmart's V-Port EM blow-off valve. Now, apart from adding in that psh sound that everyone loves to hear from a turbocharged vehicle, this valve is actually going to make a bit of performance gain to the vehicle as well. You're going to get a few different characteristics thanks to the technology that Turbosmart has implemented in these valves here. So let's go ahead and dive into a little deeper on their V-Port EM blow-off valve. Thanks to its build construction, high temperature O-rings, and the secret sauce that Turbosmart puts into each one of these blow-off valves, this piece here is going to not only perform a ton better than the stock plastic valve, it's going to hold boost a ton better, it's going to be much more responsive, and ultimately you're going to get more consistent performance out of this valve. Now, where this blow-off valve is really going to shine is when we decide to get the truck tuned and add in some more boost to the equation. As a few of you guys may already know, the stock diverter valves do tend to leak a little bit of boost even under stock boost conditions. However, once we start adding boost, that problem's only going to get worse simply because the design of the stock diverter valve really isn't to take as much boost as we want to throw at it. Luckily though, this Turbosmart valve is capable of so much boost that we'll never actually possibly hit that boost number with a stock motor. Even with a built motor with big boost, this Turbosmart valve is going to be able to handle pretty much all the boost that we could possibly throw at it. Now, just like their intercooler, Turbosmart's blow-off valve is designed to be a plug-and-play unit with all of the OEM mounting points and harnesses. So even if you don't have Turbosmart's intercooler, this will bolt directly up to the stock intercooler and the stock OEM harness. So you have no issues running this alone on your truck if you don't want to get Turbosmart's intercooler, or if you already have another intercooler installed on the truck, as long as it uses the OEM mounting point for that diverter valve, or soon to be this blow-off valve. Overall, Turbosmart's blow-off valve is going to be more responsive, it's going to hold more boost, and of course you're going to get that psh sound that you didn't once have before on your truck. So it's a win-win-win as far as I see everything. And to boot, it bolts up to the OEM locations using the OEM harness. You really can't go wrong with installing that piece on your truck, even if you're not getting their intercooler. So now that we've taken a look at both components here for the F-150, giving you guys the whole rundown of why you're definitely gonna want this on your truck, let's go ahead, bring it outside, and show you guys how to install it on your F-150. Now, to give the stock intercooler a little bit of a test here, what I've done is plugged in 4Scan to the truck here, and I'm monitoring IAT and IAT2 readings. Basically, what that's going to tell us is what the air temperature is before and after the intercooler. Now, what you can see here on the screen is that the intake air temps, after some normal driving and a couple of pulls, are pretty high. I mean, we're looking at probably about 120 here on the IATs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely on the higher side of things, especially for the driving that I'm doing right now, basically just some light cruising. So let's hope the Turbosmart intercooler can definitely help bring those down quite a bit, especially when cruising around town. Alrighty, so now that you've heard what the truck sounds like in stock configuration, and of course how the stock intercooler performs, let's go ahead, get the stock intercooler and diverter valve out of there and go ahead and install the Turbosmart stuff. Now, to remove the stock intercooler, you're only going to need a couple hand tools, including a 15mm socket, an impact gun or a ratchet, and a 7mm socket or a wrench. The removal of the stock intercooler as well as the install of the Turbosmart one is a pretty straightforward process here, really no complication to it, and in fact we're going to do it sitting right here in a parking spot. We're not even going to move the truck to a lift or lift the front end at all. However, it may be necessary depending on what suspension you're running on your truck, whether it be stock suspension or whether you have the truck even lowered. You might need to lift it up on a ramp or jack. However, thanks to the truck's 2-inch level up here and the larger wheels and tires, we can actually do this sitting right here, and we have plenty of access underneath the truck. Alrighty, so now that we're under the truck here, you can clearly see the stock intercooler here. There's actually no covering on this particular trim level of truck. However, depending on your year and trim level, you may have some sort of covering under the bumper here, or something that's going to be a little bit different than what you're seeing here, as this is a 21 model year truck. However, being this a 21 model year truck, the first thing that we're going to go ahead and handle is going to be getting this diverter valve here, all of the plugs and hoses off of it. There's only, I guess, one plug on it and one singular tube here. Once we get that all off, we can go ahead and start tackling the hot side and the cold side charge pipes here, which is going to be held on here by the 7mm worm clamp bolts on each side here, 2 on the passenger and 1 on the driver's side. Once we have that all off and pretty much all loosened up, we can go ahead and remove the 2 15mm bolts on each side here of this bracket that is holding the intercooler in place. Now, once we have those brackets off there, once we have those 2 bolts off there, this bracket should pretty much just fall right on me, and we can take it out and start messing with the Turbosmart stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to removing the intercooler. Now, looking at it from the bottom here, this is that diverter valve that I was just talking about. All you have to do is take this coupler and twist it counterclockwise and pull back. Coupler's off, and you're go ahead and good to go for the charge pipes once we get that harness off here, which we can do. As you can see, that main harness there is disconnected and free of the way. Let's go ahead and get these charge pipes off so that we can go ahead and get to installing the Turbosmart. Now we can take our 7mm here and start to remove these worm clamps here. That we can just let fall onto there, let gravity do its thing. Pop off this hose here. A big old hunker hose. Pop off these two charge pipes here. Now with all the hoses loosened and pushed away as far as they can go, we can go ahead and start removing the bolts here that are holding on the bracket for this intercooler. And that's going to be using a 15mm socket. So now that I have the stock intercooler out here, you can clearly see the two side by side and see why we're going to be upgrading here to the Turbosmart one. Now I will make the note that the Turbosmart unit is a bit heavier than the stock intercooler. However, that is due to the high quality build that they do here from Turbosmart with their all aluminum construction versus Ford here with the plastic tanks on the end, which can be prone to failure. Now, of course, we're going to go ahead and swap over these tubes here, which are going to basically hook directly onto the ports here that Turbosmart has given this new intercooler here. So let's go ahead and start swapping parts over. Now, the first thing we just swapped over is these grommets here, which are essentially going to be holding the intercooler in place in their little pockets there up in the truck, and the bracket that's holding it in on the bottom. Now, if you notice in a lot of these tubes here, you're getting a lot of oil mist build up here. Now, this truck does have about 70,000 miles on it here, so you are probably going to see that there. Even on some of the lower mile trucks, you're probably going to see some of that oil mist build up there. However, we're going to go ahead and wipe this up, and it shouldn't come back thanks to that UPR catch can that we have installed on the truck as well. Now, unlike the passenger side of the intercooler, the driver's side here has this hard plastic tube here that's held in with this retaining clip here. Now, this clip's really simple to remove. All you have to do is really just get a pick in there and start prying back on it. It's got these tabs here. Work around the edge of it, but all you really have to do is just pop those tabs out there. That's basically just a safety retainer clip here, because what really holds it in is going to be some O-rings here, which that looks nasty as hell. Oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wipe all that out there, and hopefully the UPR catch can will save us from that happening again. Now, another note with this here, depending on the mileage of your truck here, you may want to replace this O-ring here that is on the inside of this inlet. Now, of course, being this is a newer truck here, 21, it probably doesn't need to be replaced. It looks to be in pretty good shape there, and it looks like it had some grease on it, so that probably definitely helped keep it from dry rotting. However, if you're installing this on, let's just say, a 2013 or 2014 first gen Ecoboost truck, that's probably an O-ring there that you might want to replace while you have this off. Look at that. Slides right on, no problems. Now, you do want to try to aim this in the correct direction that it was aiming when installed on the old intercooler. However, it will spin once it's installed here with this clip anyway, so let's go ahead and get that clip installed there. We can go ahead and slide this back on for when we go to put it back on the truck. Slide on this last grommet here. Now all we have to do is screw on this Turbosmart blow-off valve, which is literally just so simple to do there. Just find the slot for it, screw it in place. It has this nice slot with a nice O-ring that it just glides into like butter, and we can go ahead and just install this bracket here that is provided with the blow-off valve. As using a 4mm Allen key. The other side, it's going to be using a 3mm Allen key. And now the intercooler is ready to get slapped back onto the truck. Now before we install the Turbosmart intercooler, we're gonna go ahead and have to remove this little shroud here that is around the shutters. Now the shutters here are going to remain completely operable during this procedure here. We're basically just removing this little, I call it like a gasket grommet piece in between the shutters and the intercooler, and on the stock one that obviously helped keep better airflow and keeping air from escaping that channel. With the new intercooler though, that space is now going to be taken up by the extra thickness of the intercooler. So let's go ahead and remove that by just pulling it back off of these tabs here. I'll tell you right now, this shroud is definitely not the easiest thing to get out when you're on the ground and you don't have access to those top tabs. The bottom tabs are really easy, and luckily there's only 4 tabs holding it up top. So once you have that off, throw it to the side. Everything's clear there. We can go ahead and now we can install the new Turbosmart intercooler. All right, I got one bolt started. Good home. So now that that's all loosely mounted up there, we can go ahead and finish by hooking up the charge pipes back to their respective locations, and of course hooking up the harness here to the new blow-off valve. Oh yeah baby, harness just got plugged in. The only thing that we have left to do is do something with this little diverter valve tube here. Now that diverter valve tube there actually is going to be fixed with a plug that Turbosmart provides with the blow-off valve there. So let's go ahead and pop that plug into place, and we're going to be all done with the install here. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and take this plug here that Turbosmart provides. Just pop it right into that cavity there. Alright, nice and secure there. It's not going anywhere, it's clamped in. The clamp is in its point. So as you can see, we have the intercooler all back in place here. We have the 2 different sides of charge pipes there, the hot side, the cold side, all hooked back up. We have the blow-off valve installed there from Turbosmart, along with the little plug here that they provide for that tube there so that nothing gets sucked up into the intake track. Overall, we are all good to go here. Everything's all back together as far as it goes down here. Let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. Hear how it sounds. Now, after the install of the Turbosmart intercooler, I went ahead and did the same exact driving pattern. Basically went out, did a little bit of cruising, did a couple of pulls, and now back to some cruising. And as you can see, the intake air temps have dropped significantly from where they were with the stock intercooler. Now, I will make the note that the stock shutters are still in play right now, so you are going to have a bit of a limitation with the cooling potential of this intercooler if you still have the stock shutters in play, because those shutters will close under normal driving conditions unless the truck is basically under boost or that intercooler is quote-unquote being used. Now, the intercooler itself is going to work much more efficiently than the stock intercooler, so even with those stock shutters in place, you're still going to have a much better performing intercooler at the end of the day compared to the stock one. And that is going to do it, guys. That was the all-new performance intercooler from Turbosmart for the 2013 and up F-150s with the 2.7 liter and 3.5 liter Ecoboost motors, including the Raptor. We went ahead and also installed their V-Port EM blow-off valve with that intercooler as well to make for a pretty sweet combination. If you guys have any questions about either of those products, feel free to drop them in the comments below, or reach out with us at 561-753-8105. If you guys want to check out the products for yourself, feel free to click the links in our description. This has been Joe with Lethal Performance, and I'm out of here. Now, just like their intercooler Turbosmart. I probably should be wearing glasses for this. I don't know why I chose to take them off for this. I just got a whole face full of sand. I don't know, don't fall forward. I don't want to get hit in the head with this thing. Ow, my f***ing fingers. it started and then pulled out. Oh, poopy. Did I pinch that harness up there? Where did that harness go?